Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network. Really, Jody, really? Do you want to trigger Malcolm Nance like that? Do you want to play Donald Trump on Ukraine? Okay.
They did this because they have no respect for Biden, and frankly, they got soft. And what happened here is incredible. That should never have happened. Likewise, Russia would never have attacked Ukraine. Never. Mm-hmm. You know it. Everybody knows it. And that wouldn't have happened. This is all on Biden.
Okay, let's just go right. Good morning, Malcolm Nance. I think we can all agree how very, very tough Donald Trump was on Russia.
Oh, yeah. He's the toughest. All he has to do is open his mouth and Vladimir Putin will just jump. Look, I have never seen a bigger puppy dog in a lap than Donald Trump is when he's dealing with Vladimir Putin. I swear to God, if it wasn't for the fact that he ignores Melania all the time, I would think it was sexual. Yeah. But maybe in a way it is. So that comment that he made that, Russia would never invade Ukraine, he, of course, completely forgot about the time Russia invaded Ukraine in 2014 and that he spent a year praising Vladimir Putin's toughness over Barack Obama.
Yeah.
Or maybe it all blurs into one gelatinous glob of I hate liberals and Ukrainians. But that's where we are.
As we are on the verge of the Republican Party once again nominating a 91 felony count rapist traitor, your piece was just, particularly for me, really touching, Malcolm, on Substack. It's entitled Remember Them, Two People Who Deserve a Trumpless America this November. And I hope you don't mind my oversharing, but I remember sitting in my Barca loungers in my living room with you shortly after your beautiful wife had passed, and I looked over and you were tearing up, and you are the toughest guy I think I've ever met, and you were tearing up just talking about her, and so I know personally how rough it has been, the loss of your wife. And so talk about the two people that you're talking about, if you don't mind, and why, as you keep saying, this election's not a game. It's not a game for a lot of people. Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is, one of my wife's favorite photos is the photo of her and you at your front door when you were telling everybody for years, that I'm the alternate Mrs. Nance. And she kept saying, she goes, I'll allow it.
she did not take exception of that. That's how nice a woman she was.
Not at all. And so when you two met in the first, it was just great. But I wrote an article on Substack, and if you're not following me, now's a good time to do it at malcolmnance.substack.com. It's free for everybody to read. And it's about two people that I've had that I was interacting with that were a big part of my life until just recently. And now, if you don't know it, I'm in Germany right now, helping with care for one of them. But the first one was just this bubbly, incredible young woman, 32 years old, the daughter of a friend. And I met her at the Christmas party, and she was, had been a fashion model, a political science student, lived in Israel, loved Israel, and said, I think you need to go and tell the real story of what's going on. And I'm a social media manager. She worked for several major parties. And she just bowled me over, and I thought, finally, my stuff's going to get unscrewed because I'm screwy. So,
Malcolm, I think we can say, because it's in your piece, it's David Frum's daughter, because obviously a lot know that it was very tragic that she had beat brain cancer, and then obviously
came back.
Miranda Ann Rebecca Frum, as her obituary says, Miranda Frum, an amazing child, and David was so proud. His wife, Danielle, were so proud. And I drove all the way out to Toronto from New York to go to the funeral. But she passed very quickly, suddenly. And I didn't really know at the time that she had beat cancer 5 years before, brain cancer.
Yeah.
And some result of that suddenly took her life. And, it was horrible. It reminded me of everything that happened with my late wife. It's been almost 5 years for me. And as we say in the widow world, 5 years or 5 minutes, there's no difference.
Yeah.
And it was heartbreaking.
And Malcolm,
And then
yeah,
when I got back,
go ahead.
I
Yeah.
got called in for my friend. So I'm not going to say his name, but we refer to him in the article as Super Soldier because he's a skinny young kid from New Jersey, former Marine, and joined the International Legion, has been fighting nonstop for 2 years there.
In Ukraine, yeah.
And yep, and only got wounded recently, and his leg is one of his legs is in danger of being amputated. And it's just incredible. So his family isn't here. They don't know him. They don't know the extent of his injury. So I jumped on a plane. I said, my job is soldier care. So I'm out here right now making sure he either gets moved on to Washington, D.C. or to some primary care facility.
Yeah.
But, it's heartbreaking that both of these people were upholding the twin pillars of democracy, and ours is crumbling before our very eyes. What with the Supreme Court and other activities, Trump winning these primaries, all these people wanting the 91 count indicted criminal as their man. It's time for us all to fight. And, we have to start putting aside our little single issues and understand our entire way of life is at risk. And these two people sacrificed. One passed from, her life, and the other sacrificed blood, bone, and muscle for America and our allies. And we all need to take that to heart and find a reason to overcome ourselves or disenthrall ourselves, as Lincoln would say, and vote this November for Joe Biden.
Yep. Nearly 20% of Minnesotans took part in the uncommitted vote against Biden. One of the spokespeople said tonight's numbers showed President Biden cannot earn back the votes with just rhetoric. It is not simply enough to use the word ceasefire while Biden funds bombs that kill civilians every day. Democrats want Joe Biden to change his policies, stop sending weapons to Israel, use all possible leverage to end Israel's war crimes in Gaza. Obviously, the vice president, spoke and called for a ceasefire this week. Malcolm, I know that you're very passionate about, as is everybody, talking about this issue. I guess my question is, what can? I guess I'm so frustrated with Hamas and Netanyahu at this point. I just, obviously Netanyahu's not for a two-state solution. He won't stop building settlements. I just don't. And I know last week you talked about Rwanda and other things that you consider genocides, but I think we also have to say 30,000 or whatever it is dead Palestinians is not good. We have to figure out how to bring this to a close, don't we? I mean, what is your take on where we are now and what Biden can do to try to control Netanyahu or this situation?
Well, you have to understand something. Joe Biden is not the president of Israel.
Right.
He's the president of the United States.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And there's very little leverage you can put on the Israelis when their citizens were mass murdered, raped, dismembered. I've been through the houses. I have other articles that I can barely write. They're horrible what happened on 10/7. And then Hamas planned on Israel to attack their civilians, knowing there were no protections put in place for them. And they literally say on television, yesterday they said, the deaths of our population are the spirit of our fight to destroy the Jews. You know what? If you think that this is like that after 9/11, when George Bush went into Iraq, that no one was killed and you didn't protest the 500,000 people, then you have a problem because it's Israel.
Yeah. Well, this is,
Okay?
but Malcolm, this
It's
is
not
what
about Israel.
This is
It's
what people.
about
This is
you.
what people are saying. Hamas knew that Israel was going to overreact like we did on 9/11 when we attacked the wrong country and killed, as you just said, tens of
in fact-
thousands of civilians.
In fact, when you looked at, and I've been 1.5 kilometers from Gaza, all right, at a settlement where they mass murdered half the people in that settlement, right? And it's not a settlement. It's a kibbutz. It is in Israel. They invaded Israel. But when you're there and you look at Gaza, it's like saying Manhattan. It's high-rise building. It's this and that. You drop one bomb, there's going to be effects. Hamas land for this. They put buildings under mosques, tunnels, 500 kilometers of tunnels, which all have to be destroyed. All right? All I'm saying is this. What's happening in the United States in relation to this, I'm speaking to the 20% of you who were uncommitted.
In Minnesota.
Next November in Minnesota. Next November.
Listen, that's our first stop on Sexy Liberal. Don't you smear my Minnesotans.
We'll take care of things there.
Minneapolis, we're going to go fix this.
I love Minneapolis, St. Paul. But look, you have to understand something. It can get a lot worse. Imagine a president of the United States that endorses the complete annexation of the West Bank and Gaza and forced displacement of the population into Egypt and Jordan. That's Donald Trump. Yeah. Imagine a president of the United States who said on day one, if you are a pro-Palestinian protester, if you are a foreigner here on a visa, he will have you arrested and deported, and now said he's going to give immunity to police. That's Donald Trump. A president like Joe Biden was looking for compromise, who you can negotiate with, who you can place political pressure with. I'm sorry, we're coming down to one issue now. Yeah. Does the American Republic survive?
Oh, and can I just tell you, I think
48 years or not.
We hit the height of absurdity. I don't know if you happen to see this clip of pro-Palestinian protesters chasing AOC with a cell phone, saying she's not saying the word genocide enough, and they're chasing her through I don't know, she's going to see a movie or something, until she finally turns and flips out on her. I mean, she's one of the most pro-Palestinian, powerful leftist figures in our country. If you are, terrorizing her, we've kind of gone around the bend on this, and I thought the vice president's comments were really powerful, and her meeting with Netanyahu's, what's his name, opposition, whoever it sends another signal. But
look, the signal is strong. Let me tell you, it's been picked up in Israel. Most people hate Netanyahu in Israel.
Yeah.
But it's a unity government right now. If you guys haven't known that, it's not just Netanyahu's party.
Right.
And there are a lot of people that are mad. The hostage families, for example, some of them literally are blocking the aid convoys with their lives, with their bodies over there. But it can get a lot worse. A lot worse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this report that just came out on the rape and torture that happened on the 7th, but that also mentioned it is ongoing. I mean, imagine you're one of those families, so it's... Malcolm, let me get your... Real quick, because we're running short on time again, and this is your wheelhouse, your specialty. I just want to... I've been talking about this, and Tom Hartman tweeted, last weekend, 2 foreign powers announced their intention to try to manipulate this fall's election. There are things the Biden administration and you can do to disrupt their scheme. He's talking about Russia and Saudi Arabia, making sure that gas prices go through the roof. Talk to us about that a little.
Oh, it's going to be Russia, Saudi Arabia, China, North Korea, and, Hungary, which should really be kicked out of NATO. And they're going to make, and even some moneyed interest in Latin America that actually encourage these caravans of people to come up to the Mexican border. Every script in the book that has never been seen in this country is being pulled out for this election. Every one of them. And it's you know what? I'm going to blame the single issue voters. I'm going to blame you guys. This is not something you might survive if we screw this up. Yeah. He's talking about camps, not just camps for people. He's talking about camps for dissenters. He is talking about using the Constitution against you. You know what I said in my book, plot to destroy democracy and plot to betray America. He will create a constitutional autocracy.
Listen.
Which means the Constitution only exists for his people and will be used against you.
There is no such thing as too much hyperbole. We call you a Shouty McShoutface. The entire country will become... Loud noises! We're all going to be just shouting at each other.
No, shout in one direction.
Yep.
Shout for the defense of America.
Yep. Absolutely. Malcolm, give our love to your friend. Tell him to hopefully heal quickly. And let's try and get this money to Ukraine and stand with them. and democracy. So thank you again, honey, for just so sorry to. Just to take you, all the things taking you through your pain again. Sending a big hug
from all of us.
Yeah.